Okay, picture this. A hospital where every single doctor is an AI. Sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? Well, it's actually happening right now. Today, we're going to dive deep into this incredible idea of the AI hospital, and we're going to separate the mind-blowing promise from the tough clinical reality. And we're kicking things off with a number that feels like a sci-fi joke, 42. That is the actual number of AI doctors currently practicing in the world's very first AI agent-run hospital. Yep, over in China, this virtual facility is already up and running, staffed completely by artificial intelligence. So you're probably wondering, how on earth does this actually work? Let's take a look inside the world's first AI agent hospital. Now, first things first, this isn't a physical building with robots roaming the halls. Agent Hospital was developed by Tsinghua University, and it's a completely virtual environment. The best way to think of it is like a massive, super complex simulation where these AI agents play the roles of doctors, nurses, even patients, all to diagnose and treat diseases. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. In just a couple of days, these AI agents simulated and treated over 10,000 patient cases. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That same amount of work would take a team of human doctors years to get through. The scale and the speed are just on a completely different level. So what's the magic under the hood? Well, these aren't your basic chatbots. They're running on incredibly sophisticated large language models, LLMs, the same kind of tech that powers tools like ChatGPT. They've been trained on huge amounts of synthetic patient data, which lets them diagnose over 300 different diseases. And here's the kicker. They're constantly getting smarter by reading new medical studies. But the most important piece is this closed-loop system. It means they diagnose, they treat, they see the virtual result, and they learn from it, all in a cycle of constant, nonstop improvement. And the mission behind all this is frankly huge. The creators want to use this tech to solve some of our biggest real-world problems, things like doctor shortages and the crazy high cost of healthcare, especially for people in remote areas. The big idea is to create a model for medical knowledge that can be scaled up affordably for everyone. Okay, that all sounds game-changing. AI doctors are here to solve everything. But it's not quite that simple. We really need to hit the pause button on all that hype and take a hard look at the vision versus the reality. Because when you try to bring this kind of technology into the messy, physical world of a real hospital, the story gets a whole lot more complicated. And this brings up a really big question. If we can build these powerful AI brains that can diagnose diseases, why don't we see friendly humanoid robots bringing patients a glass of water or helping nurses in every single hospital? Why is the physical world so much harder for AI to crack? And look, this isn't just my take. Research from the Journal of Medical and Clinical Nursing puts it pretty bluntly. The author, Trisha Bogosian, notes that we all have this popular image of a helper robot, but the hard evidence just isn't there. She says they are not coming anytime soon. Let's dig into why that is. The gap between the dream and reality here is just massive. The vision is, flawless, tireless humanoid assistants everywhere. But the clinical reality? Researchers say the tech is nowhere near ready for actual use. There's almost no demand from caregivers. In fact, in studies, nursing staff often reject these kinds of robots. And that's all before you even get to the giant mountain of ethical and legal hurdles. This quote right here really nails the problem. A virtual hospital, that's a controlled environment. But a real hospital ward, with unpredictable people, with constant motion, with spills and messes, the paper calls that the absolute outer limits of workability for today's robots. Turns out the beautiful, messy chaos of human life is the single biggest challenge for engineering. So this huge contrast between the virtual and the physical brings us to maybe the most important distinction we need to make, the difference between AI agents and physical androids. And honestly, understanding this is the key to seeing where the future of healthcare is really headed. So what are we talking about here? It's simple, really. An AI agent, like the ones in our AI hospital, is pure software. It's a brain in a digital world. Its job is to analyze data and make a diagnosis. A physical robot, on the other hand, is a machine with a body. It has to actually exist and move around in the physical world. Its job is movement and manipulation. Basically, one thinks and the other does. This table just breaks it down perfectly. The AI agent lives in a digital world. The robot has to survive in the real world. The agent's biggest problem is getting good data. The robot's biggest problem is navigating our messy human spaces. And that right there is why one can be launched at a massive scale today, while the other is still pretty much stuck in the experimental phase. So if it's not AI doctors versus human doctors, and it's not agents versus androids, then what's the real path forward? Well, it's all about building a collaborative future, a true human-machine partnership. And here's the most important takeaway. The future isn't a replacement story. It's not AI or humans. It's about creating an ecosystem where we use the right tool for the right job. We let AI do what it's amazing at, so we can empower humans to do what we do best. But, getting there isn't just about building better tech. The research points out these huge socio-technical challenges. Technology doesn't just appear in a vacuum, it changes the social environment, and the environment changes it back. You can't just drop a robot into a hospital and expect it to work, because as we saw, user acceptance is not a given. Real integration means navigating all these complex human and institutional quirks. So how do we get it right? The research actually gives us a pretty clear roadmap. Number one, you have to involve the clinical staff, the doctors and nurses, right from the very start. Their input is gold. Two, be super clear about what the tech will do and how human jobs will change with it. Three, deal with the tough ethical questions about privacy and accountability head on. Don't wait. And finally, you have to test these things in the real world to see what the actual impact is. And this all brings us to the ultimate synthesis, the big idea of this whole explainer. Let's let agents, like the ones in Agent Hospital, focus on perfecting the science of medicine, the data, the patterns, the lightning-fast diagnosis, because that frees up human professionals to perfect the art of care, the empathy, the human touch, the communication, all the things that are and always will be at the very heart of healing. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If artificial intelligence really does manage to perfect the science of medicine, what does that mean for us? What new depths of connection, empathy, and humanity are left for us to explore and perfect in the art of caring for one another?